And now for something completely different.
There are no safe spaces here. The truth shall make you free. So you want the truth, but can you handle the truth? And what did we learn? Well, here's another fine mess you've gotten us into.
The Craig L. Hayes Show. Just thinking, where we talk about everything else.
Hello, America, family, friends, and listeners all around this planet we call home. This is the Craig L. Hayes Show, Just Thinking, where we talk about everything else. Today is the 9th of January, 2026, coming to you live, all the way live. Don't start rapping, Craig. Stop that. Stop it. We're coming to you from the Northern Command Center here in Enterprise, Utah. And today I want to talk about Europe. Let's discuss a little bit about what's going on in Europe and how Europe is about to collapse. We look across the pond and we see a European system. If they all got into this European Union, and you would go, okay, well, you guys decided you wanted to all get together and work together to try to take on the financial, military, everything like that, the power of the United States. And all of you combined fall short. So instead of just saying, hey, we're each going to have, a discussion with America and we're gonna work our own stuff out. We're going to be friends with them. We're going to have trade. We're going to do all these things. You guys all decided you guys are going to elect a whole bunch of more people, or your parliaments or governments were going to assign ambassadors or whatever you're doing over there to have another level of government that's over your own nation's government. Why did you do that? What is it about Europe that their entire history, most of the history of the world, let's all be honest about this stuff, the history of the world has always been about kings, queens, or emperors, or whatever we want to say, but there was always somebody who was running the show and in complete power and control. And then the United States came along. We said, we're throwing off all that crap. We're going to go and have our own separate way where the people actually have the power. It resides with them. They hold total power over the government. Total power over everything that the government is supposed to do. Now, if we followed the Constitution, that's exactly what would be happening. But since we're not, let's just use it as how it's supposed to be. We didn't want a king. After we defeated England for our War of Independence, there were some that thought that not a president is something we should have, but another king, the King of the United States. You get rid of one king just to get another one. Those people who were doing that were probably later on, their descendants probably became Democrats because they love people who have power and control over them. That's being a Democrat. They want to control other people's lives. They love that. They love telling other people what they can and can't do. That is how the Democrats live, breathe, and survive. But Europe right now has not only their own governments are clamping down on the citizenry, taking away people's free speech rights all over Europe. If you say something that hurts someone's feelings, the police knock on your door and they find you and arrest you or whatever they're going to do for hurting somebody's feelings. And we were almost there ourselves. Joe Biden and the Democrats had that going, and had Joe Biden get out another 4 years, we would be in the same boat because he had already stopped free speech on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, anything that disagreed with Joe Biden and the Democrats, they pressured social media to take and make people so they couldn't be out on social media. Basically, they just got rid of you. They kicked you off. The former president of the United States got kicked off of all social media. That doesn't stop Donald Trump. Donald Trump just said, fine, I'll start my own, True Social. And others got on and said, fine, we'll start something different away from YouTube called Rumble. You're not going to stop people unless you put them in jail. And that's probably where we would be right now had Joe Biden or any other Democrat been elected. That's the road we were heading down, just like Europe. But Europe has this fascination with having a king or a ruler over them. The people went many years without a king or a queen or an emperor all over Europe, but one always pops up. You had Hitler in Germany. You had Mussolini in Italy. And these guys, they're fascists, and the people ate it up. Parts of Europe ate it up and thought it was great what they were doing because they like someone who's in total power, total control, a dictator basically. That is how the Europeans, it's in their genes, it's genetic. I don't know what it is with them, but they just have this. We don't have that here in this country. We have a group of people called Democrats who want that, who think that is the greatest thing in the world we could do, but we don't have that in our genetics here, unless they've been polluted. That's the genetics that the Democrats got. It's a feudal system over there in Europe. It's always been that. You married your cousins. You married your uncle. You married your aunt. You married. It's just so disgusting what was going on over there for all those years. And then someone would get their feelings hurt about their uncles over another part of Europe, and they'd start a war with them and go to war and kick their butt and then say, okay, we'll end this war, but now your son has to marry my daughter, and then we'll call that good. They want that again. Europe is lost. I don't know if you guys realize, but Europe is lost. They not only have destroyed the freedom and the rights of the people and replaced it with total fascism by every single government over there, but now they're acquiescing and allowing Muslims in there to dictate what will happen in their country. They're done. Europe is gone. There's nothing in Europe of any value anymore. And there is no more Winston Churchills over there. There are no more people who stand up for liberty and freedom. Europe, as we know it, they lean towards fascism. That's called the right over there. In our country, the right is conservatives. Now, the left is communism. That is Russia, because Russia is really heading into communism too, and China. They lean into the communist side of it, where the rest of Europe likes fascism. Here's the difference. Communism, state owns everything, and you do what you're told by the state, and you go to work where they tell you to go to work. They own the businesses. They own everything. Fascism. You own your business, but your government can come and tell you what you have to do with your business. There's not a whole lot of difference in that if you really want to look at it. And as long as you play good, you make a good paycheck, you make a good money on your business, as long as you're doing what you're told, because you've aligned yourself with the government. Where communism is, the government just does it, and they don't care if you make a dime, you're just going to work and do what you're told, period. There's no incentive on anything. And there's very little incentive other than the owners of businesses in fascism for them to make any money. So, they try to play the game on both sides a little bit. That's fascism. Europe doesn't mind people owning businesses, but they want a government that tells people what they can and can't do in every aspect of their life, from healthcare to employment to rights. The government gives the people the rights, and the government takes their rights when they don't want them to have them. And the people have no recourse other than a revolution. And that's all that's left over there. There is no fixing it, because there is nobody over there. There's not a Margaret Thatcher in England. There's not a Helmut Kohl in Germany. These people are all gone. At the end of World War II, they had just finished fighting Italy, fascist Italy, and fascist Germany. And the people turned around and said, now that we've won, we suffered fighting fascism, we want to be taken care of. We want massive social programs. We want to be taken care of, and we want the government to do more and be more involved in our lives. They went to fascism. It's a soft fascism, but it's still fascism. It wasn't a fascism that went and conquered other nations around them, but it's still fascism. Fascism in any form is still fascism, whether it's light or full fascism. It's like communism. You can have a little communism, or is it you're just totally communist? Well, you're pretty much socialist. Basically is just a stepping stone to communism. So where does America stand in this thing? Well, America still is part of NATO. NATO is pretty much ineffective. And Europe wants war. For some reason, Europe wants to get involved in some war between Ukraine and Russia. They want to put thousands of troops in there on the border to separate Russia and Ukraine. And if anyone gets killed doing that, their nations are going to declare war, and they're off and running again. They just can't get it out of their system. It's just royal family of every nation over there that just seems to be the most attractive things to them, whether it's a royal family or if it's a king or whatever it may be, or just a totalitarian government. Europe just loves this crap. It'd be nice if they would just love freedom and liberty. That would be really cool. So if Russia and Ukraine get somewhat of a European Union peace force between them, is that going to create peace, or is that just going to make it so that, one match thrown into the woodpile wrong and it's off and running by all of Europe again on another war? I fear that's what it'll end up being. I think that Europe just has this thing that, we haven't had a war in a long time, and we need to have a war with each other again because, it's been, 80 years since we've had a major war. So let's get back into it. So you all got together and created the European Union so you could work together, but now you want to get together and use that to have another war. Oh, my gosh. We don't want war here. I think President Trump, probably the greatest president of my lifetime, and remember, I'm a huge Reagan fan, but I can honestly say that Trump is probably the greatest president of my lifetime, wants to end wars. He wants to end conflicts. And he wants to shore up America, where America is the most powerful nation in the world again. He's not joking when he says, make America great again. He wants it to be the greatest nation on the planet. And he's willing to go through all of this to make it happen. And yet Democrats take and try to stop him. That tells you everything you need to know about the Democrat Party. They don't want America great again. They want an America that is run like Europe, that is run like Russia, that is run like China. We don't want that. We need to stop that. We don't want to be heading anywhere towards what they're doing over in Europe. Problem is we have way too many stupid people that vote Democrat in this country and are willing to give up everything they have, liberty, freedom, and all of that, just for to have some security, a paycheck, someplace to live, food on the table. You can ask the Somalians. Most useless people that we've ever imported into this country. Most useless. Now I'm going to start. I'll talk about that on another thing, on another show. Boy, I want to go off on that one. Anyways, this is a big deal. We got to be watching out for what's going to be happening here soon, because some big stuff is going to happen. 2026, there's going to be some pretty amazing things going on, I believe. Our nation is going to have some big choices to make, and hopefully we make some good ones. We have a guy in the White House right now that we should be very comfortable with, especially if you love this country. If you don't love this country and you hate it, then you should be probably very upset that he's there. You know, because Biden was just so much better at destroying the country like you want. Now, folks, with that, let me see. Did I miss anything? I'm trying to remember anything else that I might have missed about Europe. Nope, it's pretty much going to collapse. It's about to do itself in over there, and we can't do anything to try to save them, folks. We cannot try to take and bail them out, because we're going to talk about free market capitalism here in a little while, and that's going to have a lot to do about getting rid of these bailouts and too big to fail. This has to stop. We need to put risk back into our system and merit. Risk and merit. Two things we've got to get back into our system if we're going to take and overcome the problems that are going to be going on in this country. So, folks, we have more to talk about. We have other episodes coming up. And until then,
you've been listening to the Craig L. Hayes Show. Just thinking.